Hello, chat. The year is 2020. It's December 16th. We're living in the future. Cyberpunk intro. We're doing business and security today.
Well, we should
Wasn't that good? That was a great intro for Cyberpunk. I didn't get around to shaving the side of my head, but you can imagine.
We have to do the ad first.
Oh, yeah. Well, Wednesday, it's usually we do it Monday and Friday. So,
okay.
Wednesday we'll do a quick plug, which is Linode is awesome. There's a lot of tutorials on Linode. You should level up and do lots of fun stuff with Linode. There's a link below where you can get credit on your Linode. You can do Devember. There's a Devember thread.
Well, let's say this. If Cyberpunk 2077 has inspired you to become a lead hacker,
there's no better way than
you
Linode.
know how you can learn, you need a server to hack on, right? Where can you get one of those? Where can you get as many of those as you need? It's Linode.
Yeah. You know what was really impressive? Cyberpunk 2077 was usable on Linux on day one.
That's cool. Well, but that's the whole GOG thing, right? Like they're all about...
No, it was Stadia.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how it performs on Stadia.
It's not terrible. It's okay. It's about 80% of the performance of Windows.
All right.
And not including some of the advanced features.
So we didn't include any business stories about Cyberpunk. There were so many.
Yeah.
I just didn't throw any in there, but Wendell has dictated. We'll do a quick impressions. Christy, you've not played it.
I haven't played it. I've just watched streams of it. So
I feel like you've turned against it.
I'm not against it. I'm not super interested in it, other than I would watch someone else play it, but I'm not really interested in playing it myself.
I would say it is a success.
Yes.
It's engaging. I don't have too many complaints.
I'm probably not as far along as you are, but the dialogue and the story seem to be fairly well written and organized so far.
Very well acted.
Yeah.
I would say my biggest complaint is the gunplay. It's a lot like Borderlands, which I hate.
It's very bullet spongy from what I've seen.
Yeah, I don't want to shoot my enemies that many times. Probably the thing that makes that the worst is when you played as Johnny Silverhand, right? Have you not gotten that far? You're in the tutorial still. Yeah. At the end of the tutorial, you play as Johnny Silverhand, who has this bitchin' pistol, which kills him in one headshot. And it's like, oh, a fun combat system. Who could have imagined? And then you go back to shooting them 50 times.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they are a little bullet spongy.
But if you use the quick hacks and stuff like that, I think that's how they want you to play the game. It's like a combination of. I had a boss battle against a melee enemy, and I ran out of all my ammo.
Wow.
I just pumped bullet after bullet into this girl, and
no good. I like some of the noir detective aspect of it. I like kind of a lot.
The scanning thing.
Yeah.
Now again, we've seen that.
Yeah.
In a lot of other. I think what Cyberpunk has done, they've taken a lot of successful things from other games and put them in a beautiful package, like a meal.
Yeah.
You know. Like a really good meal that has all the stuff that you like.
I'm not entirely convinced that it does it really well, because there's crafting, and then there's the level up system where you do the points and you pick stuff, and then you got a skill tree and some other stuff. I'm not convinced that it's like going to a buffet and they've literally put one of everything on your plate.
For sure. I've not even done melee combat yet. I don't like it, so I'm just I'll shoot people until I run out of bullets. But
the crafting thing seems especially strange to me, because I was like, if we're talking about dystopian futures, they're already trying to take away our right to repair things. Why would you have a crafting system in a dystopian future reality?
Well, I think the crafting system is so that you can use all the materials that you get from the insane amount of just random loot that you don't get attached to at all. Because again, it's the Borderlands thing. Okay, let me have an encounter and then slowly over-encumbered walk to get rid of the 50 guns that just gave me.
I was a little disturbed that one of the perks was automatically disassemble junk into the components that are useful, and it's that would probably save a lot of space in my inventory.
But hey, it's fun. I'm playing it. I'm enjoying it. I think the Keanu Reeves thing, I think they did that really well. I was expecting his character to be really annoying. It's not the case. I really like that character.
Nice.
You do want to talk about the monetary success of it? 1 million players broke the record.
Oh yeah. A lot of pre-orders. 70. It was 75-25 too for digital versus physical copy. 25% did physical copy.
Where do you get a physical copy?
You could order it online. and it was going to be delivered or whatever. So
Do you get a disc or is it just a code?
No, you got a disc.
Wow.
And a code because it wouldn't fit on a disc.
They screwed up the launch a little bit, but not nearly as much as Rockstar or Bethesda screws up their launches. Yeah. So
surprisingly, the best launch was Good Old Games. They did better than Steam.
That makes sense. And I haven't, I saw a lot of headlines about bugs. I've not encountered a lot of bugs. I will say again, the loot system, like the hitbox is really small in the loot. Don't you find that?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get it.
The hitbox for like headshots and stuff is tiny too.
Yeah, so that's annoying. And a couple of times they have those little white octagons to show you can pick stuff up, and I just never could. Is this a bug or?
Yeah. I've encountered a number of bugs, but none of them are show-stopping.
Have you caught any of like the weird audio bugs? Like the streams I was watching, like there was one point where a guy walked through a beaded curtain, and then like the beaded curtain sound was just looping in the background for like 10 minutes after, and he had to restart his game.
There might have been a physics object trapped in it or something.
Yeah.
It was just bouncing around. Yeah, no, I don't. I've encountered a lot of bugs around like when you're supposed to move somewhere or you're supposed to go to a specific place to queue up like the dialogue or whatever, and it just never queues. And so like I have to like, do this motion around the exclamation point, and then it triggers.
The pathfinding, they did a nice thing for a big open world game, especially with Z levels, because using the 2D map with Z levels is frustrating. So it directs you to the next obvious point on your path rather than the end of your path. And sometimes it takes a while to register that you actually made it to the next possible point. So you're like wandering around like, why is this not moving? And then it's 10 seconds later, it's like, oh, no, we're over here.
Okay, we made it to Manny's Tacos. Now we need to go left.
Well, let's remember that's doing this without load times.
Yeah.
So you got to give it credit. I don't know, Chris. I think you're gonna end up playing it.
We're probably gonna end up streaming it at some point.
You might not pay full price.
Yeah, I'd probably wait at least a year.
I thought about streaming it, but then I was like, I got to turn off a lot of the experience to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music and stuff.
Because the copyright cartel is out of control, and we need to change the laws. There are enough of us.
That would have been a good desk game, office game, pre-pandemic.
Definitely would.
Yeah.
Although I hate doing those games at the desk because I know that the two of you are going to use all the ammo, and they're going to be like, somebody else take over.
I don't know. I did the hand-to-hand combat tutorial with like the katana, and I really had a lot of fun with that.
I haven't done the melee in the game except for that at all.
I think I'm going to be bad at the melee because it seemed to work better if you got into a rhythm, and my brain is incompatible with rhythm.
All right. I think we've done enough.
Yeah, that's definitely enough.
Anyway, that was a really long discussion, and we'll probably talk more about that on Twitch. So.
Yeah, this is one of those times where it's like, just use the timestamps to skip ahead of our banal banter.
Yeah.
So, this story, I believe I saw 15 different times.
Yes.
And it's because when you put certain words in a news headline, it gets a lot of clicks. And one of those words is porn.
Yep.
And oh boy, did everybody want to report this. And so we boiled it down to this one article. But this was a saga that played out over the week. So we started out with a New York Times expose, and we actually ended with this.
Yeah. Mastercard and Visa have halted payments on Pornhub over allegations of child sex abuse content. And it started, like you said, on the New York Times. But if you dig into this, I think we're seeing it like, we got to step back from this story here, because they're saying it's like, we found all this bad content on Pornhub, blah, blah, blah. And that's not untrue. There is some bad content on Pornhub, but they have taken steps to address it. And I'm not defending Pornhub here. If you look at Facebook is far worse. And we will never see actions like this from Mastercard and Visa.
Do you think that there's some 4D chess going on here, and they are using this as a power play in the 230 debate?
I think they are.
That's what I'm smelling here. Because the step that we're leaving out. So the New York Times expose comes down. It's like, oh, there's child porn on Pornhub, and then Pornhub immediately got in front of that because they knew what was happening. They were like, oh God, all right, no more uploads from non-verified users. I don't know how you get verified. I guess you got to do the identification thing.
Yeah, you
like
got to send
YouTube.
them identification. And in California, you've got the thing that you comply with because it functions kind of like OnlyFans.
So they know who's uploading at this point, and they also what was the other thing they did? They shut down
Downloads.
Oh yeah,
You
user
can't save
downloads.
it.
I didn't even know that you could do that on Pornhub.
You got to pay for
That
it.
seems is it like a okay, I see. And they're like, yeah, we're taking this seriously. We're gonna do these things, and they didn't care. Visa and Mastercard were like, nah, we're still out.
Yeah, I think that this is also a power play to bring these kinds of things under more control, because the payment processors want to have a say and control over what's going on, like what content is disseminated. The New York Times article talked about more than just Pornhub. There were other websites involved, but so far I think Pornhub is the only one that has felt the brunt. But at the same time, like, do you think because Pornhub employs a lot of people to review content, do you think anybody at Pornhub is suffering from PTSD?
Probably a little bit.
Not
Not
to the
nearly
extent-
as much as the Facebook people, though.
Yeah.
At least with Pornhub, if I call you up and I'm like, "Hey, you're gonna be a Pornhub content moderator," you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna see some weird stuff. With Facebook, you might not expect child porn to
Yeah.
happen during your moderation stuff.
And that's the crazy thing. I would also say that the other thing that's happening here is that news outlets are more interested in becoming click farms. Like, there is an aspect, this is like the worst kind of journalism in some ways, because there is some legitimacy to the article here, but the reaction to it is an overreaction. And again, not defending Pornhub or anything that they do, but this is definitely an overreaction. And the payment card processing industry is always one to overreact, or to react in such a way that they can accumulate more power and control.
Bad journalism for the New York Times. Who could have imagined it?
Well, it's to drive revenue. Like, people will click on it. Like this, it will reinforce more bad journalism because they will make a lot of money from this story.
I'm amazed. I don't know why I'm amazed, but I am amazed. When I listen to podcasts, or the rare time I see, like celebrity-driven TV stuff, although not on TV, but like on YouTube or whatever, if it's a young woman, an attractive young woman being interviewed for, like, let's say she's a comedian or a musician or something else, and I'd be like, all right, they're wrapping it up, and she's like, oh, go to my OnlyFans. Like, every young girl now has an OnlyFans, and it's kind of accepted, right? It's like society's like, all right, you got it, especially during the pandemic. Make a few extra dollars. I think that eventually your personal pornography popularity will be a huge part of your celebrity social score.
Certainly worked for Paris Hilton.
Yes, but everybody's going to have that. It's like, we kind of want to give you this role, but your porn isn't doing well.
Isn't that kind of like a step backwards for gender roles, though?
Yes, massively, because men aren't expected to do that.
But I'm sure there's guys on OnlyFans, right?
Except you don't know any of them, and like you just said, young women, not men.
But I don't know any of the girls' names either.
Yeah.
But you will. What was I don't remember her name, but the one really famous streamer went on there, remember? And it upset people for some reason.
I don't remember.
Chat.
I can't remember.
But yeah, it's not a thing that's expected of men, which is bullshit.
Well, listen, Krista, how many dollars have you spent on man porn?
Literally zero.
Well, then you're the problem, aren't you? You're sitting here complaining.
I'd argue that maybe neither should have to do that.
Krista, if you want gender equality, you have to consume man porn.
I don't like to use the word consume like I'm eating it. Like I print the photo out and then I
review it.
There were a couple of stand-up comedians that went to like Patreon, and that was pretty effective for them.
Everybody's on Patreon.
Yeah.
Including
yeah.
us.
I mean, we're on
Check it
Patreon.
out.
But I mean, they're doing really well on Patreon with their comedy stuff.
What's happening a lot, and the kind of podcasts that I like, which are mostly unacceptable to society, is that they just all, as soon as they get kicked off of YouTube, they start their own thing. So it's beginning a cycle of the streaming services.
Yeah.
Like, look, dude, I'd give you $5, but I'm already giving $5 all over the place here.
Right. We're also on Float Plane if you don't want to just give us. Speaking of people doing it in collectives, like.
And Twitch. You can come on Twitch and give us money. So many options. Now, this one is when it comes to pegging the hypocrisy meter.
It's off the charts.
Doesn't get much worse than this. But I'm not surprised. Are you at all?
No.
Yeah. And I think I'll be unaffected by this. But I still feel a little bit robbed by it.
Samsung plans to ditch power adapters just 3 months after mocking Apple over the same move. So I went the other day to try to find a USB power adapter. And all of the USB power adapters that I could find were only like 1 or 1.5 amps. I wanted one that was like 2 amps or 2.5 amps. There's not a lot of those. People do not have 2 and 3 amp USB adapters laying around their house. That is farcical. So if you're getting the Note 21 or any of the new Galaxy flagship phones from Samsung, guess what? No charger.
I'm sure they will sell you one on the cart while you're checking out for your phone.
Yeah.
And it'll be $39.99.
You know what? The OnePlus 8 didn't come with a charger, but it had a free, like you could get a bundle and it came with a free wireless charger. I would be okay with that. That's fine. You don't want to include a USB charger, no problem.
There's an argument to say that they'll all be moving to that eventually, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, like the whole thing that they talk about is like, oh, we want to reduce our waste in the world, but then it's like, but you're still you're still selling it, but you just charged $40 for it. So I mean, is that really?
You know who is super excited about this news? The Amazon counterfeit sellers.
Oh yeah.
Those will burn your house down.
Yeah, but you'll save so much up front.
I get some of those cheap USB chargers.
I mean, you'll lose everything, but
a couple of there's an outlet in my old house that has like a very vertical char mark next to one of the prongs, and it's from one of those Amazon Basics USB chargers. Like it just like.
You're gonna put a close up of that on Zillow, right?
No. It's like, why is the paint discolored here a little bit? It's like,
just paint over it.
Don't worry about it.
Well, we had some a little bit of bad news, but you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt because this has happened to them a bunch of times, and every time they seem to have used the data to learn from and fix it, which is exactly why you do this. So this is kind of a win in some ways.
SpaceX Starship high-altitude test flight ends in a fiery explosion. SpaceX successfully launched and flew the spacecraft before it exploded while landing. Well, it didn't. I mean, this was a test flight where they were going to do like a tumble or something. They were doing some sort of really complicated maneuver, and it basically succeeded. But one of the thrusters didn't fire or something when it was landing.
It didn't have enough pressure left.
Oh, okay.
They used more than they thought during the
maneuvering.
So you got to gas it up a little bit more next time. But they were happy with it. Everybody was said, "Oh yeah, they did everything it was supposed to up until the explosion." So she'll be fine.
It got all the data. Yay, data.
Still got to make you a little sad if you're one of the guys who worked on that system watching it blow up.
Well, this is only, I mean, it's another prototype, so it's probably okay. And Elon Musk said he considers this successful, so you think behind the scenes he's just like yelling, he's like, "Dave, what are you doing? This is supposed to be."
He's just one of his employees.
Yeah. It's like, "But I thought you said we were successful." It's like, "That's what I told them. It's nothing to do with you. You're a failure." It's like, okay.
Yeah, I like to imagine he's like that. Maybe he's not. He probably is. Another one for the kind of the hypocrisy thing. Apple saying that, you know, you need this app store to protect you, but you must only have their app store because they did it first and they did it best.
Yeah. Some of the arguments in the Epic lawsuit, that's exactly what they're saying. They're like, look, people are really stupid. We have to protect them from themselves. We must be in control. And it's like, that's not very nice.
And somebody crawled out from under the woodwork and they were like, "Hey, you didn't create this."
Original jailbreak app store, Cydia, I think that's how you pronounce that, sues Apple for its monopoly. The first ever iPhone app store argues that Apple has a monopoly on distributing apps by not allowing third-party app stores on its operating system. I think that ultimately, if this makes it to the Supreme Court, by the time it makes it to the Supreme Court in about a decade, that it will be ruled that these phones are basically just glorified computers and consumers have the right to do with them what they want.
Well, it's funny because Apple, one of their big arguments is, unless we have full control, we can't stop all these ne'er-do-wells from spying on you and giving you malware and doing things like that. Whereas Cydia, in their equation, Apple is the malware.
Yeah.
And you can argue
Yeah.
the iOS is a little bit malware-ish, and it's definitely spying on you. And it's insecure. We've pointed that out over and over.
Yeah.
Because Apple excuses themselves from their own rules.
Like that firewall story last week where it's like, we'll just not have Apple applications use a firewall. It's like, what? That's not how firewalls work.
The Mac OS one.
Yeah.
Where the internal Apple apps didn't have to go through the security chip.
Yep.
So it's a good argument. Like you say, 10 years, I don't know if Cydia will be the one to win this case. I do agree that eventually we'll probably get there, or society will collapse. But I don't know if Cydia is going to be the one to make the win.
One or the other.
Just in time for 2076. It's like, all right, we can finally run third-party software on our Apple devices. Woo!
I think that you get in front of a judge or a jury, ever how this plays out, and you start talking about jailbreak, and they're like, oh, that's evil.
What a terrible term. What about we're going to load freedom onto these?
It's spreading democracy onto your phone. We love that phrase, right? Electric cars. The news for electric cars is kind of a coin flip of whether or not it's going to be a new company bringing out a new battery technology or a new car, or a company folding. Last week it was Nikola.
Yeah.
We've known that for a while. And then we found out about Consumer Reports kind of, taking a dump on all of the electric car build quality. But this week, we're back to the upswing, a new contender.
Toyota announces an all-new electric SUV. It says it's their first step for battery-powered vehicles. There's not really a lot of details.
In fact, this is the only picture we get, which doesn't tell you much. It's got some nice big tires. What do you think about that, Krista?
Wait, did you ask me, or you cut out for a second?
Yes. I want to know what you think about this sketch.
The sketch, it's fine. It doesn't really tell me literally anything about the car, but I would be interested in this if the price was right.
You think they're actually going to go with white wall tires, or is that glowing LED?
It's really just going to be, like every little line of the car is just outlined in neon.
I like that.
It's highly impractical.
One thing I really like about Cyberpunk is they still use internal combustion.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was weird, actually. Because, in Overwatch, they actually made a point of modeling all the cars to be, floating.
But I think it's part of the Cyberpunk idea, right? Big polluted cities, waste.
Oh, it makes sense that internal combustion would still be in use in 2077 if there was some sort of cataclysmic post-nuclear event.
Oh, that's right. That's storyline's like something bad happened, right?
Yeah.
If you are one of the few people who is not having a bad economic year in 2020, good news. There's a new
both of you
insanely overpriced product. Both Jeff and Mark, both of you can get this.
AirPods Max, Apple's over-the-ear headphones, cost a hefty $549. You can pre-order today. That's impressive. That's more than Bose. I bet Bose is sitting back and they're like, oh man, you mean we could have charged $550 for headphones and people would buy it?
Also, why call them AirPods?
Because they're not a pod, and they're wireless, I guess.
Yeah, but the pod is like the pod in your ear. Right? Now, Christy, you hate in-ear stuff, right? Are you thinking about getting these?
No, I'm not thinking about getting these. I do kind of prefer this style, where it goes over your ears and not in them, but I feel like these aren't very practical. This kind of style when you're out and about. Though I guess no one's going out and about right now, so I don't know.
I've definitely seen people walking around with the giant headphones on.
Yeah.
At the grocery store and stuff. Some people don't care.
If you remember the 80s, you've definitely seen people walking around with a giant boombox on their shoulder.
There's a lot of people with hearing damage in just the left ear.
Yeah, probably. Grandpa, why can you only hear in your right ear? Huh? It's like you were a street urchin, Grandpa.
Now, these have all the noise canceling and stuff like that. They got a bunch of gimmicks. They got the volume on ear, the mute on, the physical button. They've got all of the things that you would expect from a really expensive pair of headphones, but they've also got an extra $200 price tag.
I think also these will start showing up in the conference calls that I'm on because all those folks like to have all the Apple stuff. They got, they'll flash the Apple Watch and stuff like that. And there's a lot of EarPods where it's like the little white antennas sort of sticking out of their ear, and they're gonna have this on now as well.
I got the Hi-Fi Man headphones, which at the time I bought them were like $350 or something. They're much cheaper now, but for that model. But we get YouTube comments of people like they notice the headphones. Headphones are like a big status thing for a lot of people.
Wow. I guess I've never gotten an email about mine. I guess that's because they're the ones that came with my phone like 3 phones ago.
Oh, I think headphones are a little bit lost on you. I mean, you really do only get those for the music. It's not going to make your... I guess it might improve your video games a little bit, but probably not. They also supposedly have some kind of like directional sound thing. But I don't know how well that's supported in the stuff you're listening to. It always seems to disappoint.
It's so expensive. It's just so expensive for something that... Unless you're like someone who makes music or like, you're really into music, I don't really see the benefit of spending this much money on this.
Honestly, I think if you're really into music, then you're going to get a more professional pair of headphones, probably for around the same price. And they're not going to be wireless, but that's not what you bought them for.
At least it's not as awful as Beats.
Beats are cheaper, at least.
Yeah, do we know that?
Which is sad.
Now, this one, I feel like... Do you think they timed this to go with the Cyberpunk release? Because it fits so perfectly.
I don't know. But see, there's only one company I know of that's commercially producing OLED transparent panels for TVs, and they are fabulously expensive, and the image quality is not that good.
Well, if you see these pictures here, it doesn't seem like they're going for high quality. It's just definitely the gimmick.
It's just ads. LG is developing sliding doors made of transparent OLED displays.
So you can take a look at some of the mock-ups here.
I mean, ads on literally everything is kind of, boring dystopia cyberpunk.
I was about to say, now we can be advertised to everywhere.
Yeah. But not only that, but the door could read something about you. It could look at your phone. It could look at your face. Yeah. It can make decisions about who comes in and who doesn't. And it could put those messages on the door.
I'm already having miles of fun with the MAC detection on my home Wi-Fi and making stuff happen with the home Wi-Fi because I'm starting to get some of the automation stuff set up, and it's like, oh, I'm in the driveway. Oh, look at that. The garage lights came on.
You walk into the bar every night and the speakers are like, welcome back, Dave.
Your high score on karaoke was 352. Do you want to try for a new high score? And it's like...
Based on your history here at the bar, you might want to look at some liver panels in the future.
Or that they've already prepared them for you.
AI has determined that spot on your hand, Dave, it's bad news.
It would be awesome to tie that in with a smart toilet in the bathroom. It's like, Dave is installed too. Your analysis in progress.
Tequila does not agree with Dave. He knows this, but he indulges anyway. And did we talk about this last week?
We did, yeah.
I think
it's finalized.
This is just that it actually happened.
Uber sells its self-driving unit to Aurora. Now, this is on CNBC. There's actually a lot to this, and it's a rabbit hole that we could spend the entire rest of the program talking about this sale. But I think that this is clear evidence that, like, the attorneys general or somebody needs to be investigating Uber, because this sale doesn't make any sense unless Uber is entirely an organization that exists to launder money. It makes no sense. So this company is buying the self-driving portion of Uber, but in fact Uber will be investing $400 million in that division to further their own self-driving technology. That makes no sense. There's a lot of other aspects of this deal that make zero sense from a deal perspective.
Well, they're taking on ownership.
It's reverse, though.
But the Uber gets a stake, right?
Yeah. But the other company is buying Uber's self-driving division. It's more like Uber is giving the self-driving division and $400 million to the other company in exchange for a small stake in the other company, which may or may not be worth anything.
Well, when you do deals like for stock, that's not uncommon.
It seems like money laundering to me.
If you look closely at everything that happens in big business, it looks like money laundering. Krista, and all of this pandemic stuff, how much Overwatch time are you clocking these days?
I played a little bit this week. I actually played a little competitive this week.
Oh, what's your? Did you make diamond?
No, still high plat. Cannot quite. I've started maining Lucio because I have the highest win rate on him. and that has actually helped me climb. So I'm very close to diamond, but I have not hit it yet.
Krista, it's time to upgrade to one of these high refresh rate Pixio monitors and some other stuff.
It's time to get serious about your esports career.
Yeah, 30-year-old esports players. Where are they? There are none.
I'm sure they exist. Anyway,
I don't know if they do in Overwatch.
Activision Blizzard is upset this week. Actually, they've been upset for a while because none other than Netflix kind of crept in. Now, Activision Blizzard made a deal with Netflix, I guess, to handle some of the intellectual property from their games becoming Netflix series or whatever. And they sent this charismatic young man to work on the deal. And that's where Netflix did something wrong.
Netflix sued again for poaching, this time by Activision Blizzard. So this guy broke his contract with Activision and now works for Netflix. And so Activision is suing Netflix for doing that.
Now, you might think, well, this happens in the business world all the time, but it turns out that Netflix was already on probation for doing the exact same thing.
Whoops.
How come the employee, I mean, I guess he doesn't need to be like punished legally, but like, won't that look bad on him if he broke a contract with his old employer to go to a new one? Like, if he wanted to leave Netflix again?
I think what happened was they sent him over because he's the CFO to talk about the financial stuff for the Netflix series. And during that time, they entered into talks and Netflix was like, oh, we'd sure love to have you. That violated his contract. He was then fired and then immediately went to Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that Netflix or Activision erred a little bit here because I don't think they could have or should have fired him. They may be, I mean, they said it was for violating his contract and some other stuff, but, if they terminated him for cause, then he's free to do whatever, which is probably why they didn't sue him.
But they do have, there are rules about discussing this kind of thing before that contract expires. That's what Netflix is being accused of.
Yeah.
Probably guilty.
Yep.
Bitcoin continues its all-time highs. I think it was like 19.3 when I looked at it this weekend. It's kind of floating above 19.
Around 20.
And it'll probably sit there for a while, but you can't ignore it any longer. I mean, people have made so much money on Bitcoin that the big players, as much as they hate it, they couldn't stop it. So if you can't stop it, what do? Well, you take control.
S&P Dow Jones indexes to launch cryptocurrency indexes in 2021. So if you want to, have cryptocurrency investment as part of your portfolio, there's going to be a vehicle to do that. Okay.
Great. Because I'm sure that eventually we'll get futures, right? And
they just started doing water futures.
I saw that, and it made me very uncomfortable.
Okay.
But and once you can start manipulating the futures, the tail wags the dog.
We're all doomed. We're doomed.
Start that rainwater cash.
It might be an argument to sell the Bitcoin. I'm not telling you to do that. You might hate me for it, but nothing good comes when the S&P steps up.
Are we still hodling?
I am, yeah.
HODL.
This is I threw this in because I love these stories. There are so many of them, and I've left out more than I've ever included.
Yeah.
But it's just time after time. This is going to be life changing. I guarantee you will never hear about this again. I don't know where these go. There's like some secret agency somewhere that just goes and steals this technology so they can't get to the people. You'll never hear about this.
Company claims solid-state lithium-metal battery breakthrough. It would offer a much higher energy density and much faster charging. So it would move, like the current best lithium batteries move from 700 watts per liter to 1,000 watts per liter with this technology. They claim that part of it was developed 5 years ago. They just hadn't figured out how to manufacture it. But this is, I guess, capturing lithium into some kind of a solid instead of liquid, so it's a little safer.
It's the separation between the anode and the cathode is now solid. So you don't get the tunneling. I can't remember what they call that.
It develops little spikes that puncture, and then it shorts, and then it catches on fire.
And so this would never do that. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen. Moving on to security. we have, surprise, surprise, new malware for your browser. This happens every week as well.
Microsoft exposes Adrozek malware that hijacks Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. Microsoft says at its peak, Adrozek had controlled more than 30,000 devices a day. It was doing some mostly benign stuff, except for with Firefox, where it would actually steal your credentials. But it would just rewrite web pages to be its own ads. So instead of showing the ads from Google, it would show its own ads, and that's how it made money. Which just goes to show you how effective Google is at actually figuring out ad fraud, which is not at all.
I'm sure those some of those ads were probably some risky clicks.
Yeah.
So it might have led to further problems.
How you get infected? Drive-by downloads. People that are too dumb to understand they're clicking on a banner, and then or get a pop-up at the bottom that's like, click allow, click allow.
You go to a download page for a file that you actually want, and there's 20 download buttons.
Yeah.
And you got to play roulette.
Which one of these looks legit?
That just turns into close that tab because I'm not going to play roulette with my browser.
Yeah, and then you got to try to find it someplace else, and it's like,
Oh, how cute. You're trying to run an exe file on my computer. That's not going to work out for you. Those are only allowed in the virtual machines.
And hacking continues to follow the money. And what are we dumping massive, massive amounts of money into right now? Vaccinations.
EU agency in charge of the vaccine approval says that it was hacked. The European Medicine Agency, the EMA, not to be confused with the European Music Association, is investigating a recent cyber attack.
Dun, dun, dun.
It was probably a nation state. Oh, I meant to include the article for it. FireEye got hacked by a nation state, and so all those hacking tools are now public, so it's going to be bad. FireEye, a top security firm, says it was hacked by a nation state, according to the New York Times. They've hacked my brain! No, they've hacked my brain! I was going to try to turn that into a Cyberpunk 2077 thing, but it didn't work out.
This is similar to the Vault 7 thing.
Yeah.
So FireEye had, like the munitions locker, and that's the stuff that they used to test or to compare to. Well, guess what? It's out in the wild.
Some of the stuff they had was literally the information security equivalent of, here's how we can make weapons-grade plutonium from common household items with your home microwave. So remember the Office of Personnel Management hack? Expect stuff like that from this. It's going to be bad.
And they didn't come out and blame anybody specifically, but they said nation state, which, you got to think there are probably two entities with this level of sophistication.
Yeah.
Well, there's three, but one of them's the U.S. government.
Well, no, there's four. I mean, it could be the Saudis again if we're frenemies.
I don't know if they have that. Do you think they're as advanced?
Yeah. What was it? Mossad? Is that right?
That's Israel.
Oh, Israel, yeah.
That's a huge difference.
My brain's been hacked again.
But you are right. Israel would definitely be in the running here.
Yeah.
Although, that goes back to the whole, are we friends?
Are they trying to undermine the whole Middle Eastern peace thing?
We certainly give them a lot of money. And one of those contenders for the nation state would definitely be Russia. And a Russian citizen has found himself at the wrong end of cyber law after a long legal battle.
BTC-e founder sentenced to 5 years in prison for laundering ransomware funds. He'll also have to pay a fine of 100,000 euro, but he was found not guilty of being involved in crimes related to that.
It was the ransomware.
So
they didn't get him on the ransomware, but they claimed that he was laundering money. And I don't know, was he specifically supposed to be laundering money, or was it just that BTC-e was so open?
It was that BTC was so open, which is, but if he was allowed to keep the money from the exchange, then this might not be a terrible result for him. He gets to spend 5 years in prison and has $100 million retirement.
In what world is 5 years in prison not terrible? Yeah.
If he got to keep the money from it, I mean, if they were going to give you $100 million, but you had to spend 5 years in prison.
Engagement challenge.
Yeah.
Would you do 5 years for? I think probably most people would, but I think probably most people underestimate how bad prison can be.
Yeah, it would probably be really bad.
Plus, that would be publicized, so you'd be known in prison as the guy with $100 million.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not great. Cloudflare and Apple, they've done something amazing, although
not really.
This was already kind of done.
Yeah.
They just put their own name on it
and
publicized it, but I think it'll probably get popular.
The Apple way.
Yeah. Cloudflare and Apple design a new privacy-friendly internet protocol. At the risk of oversimplifying, it's a DNS over HTTPS proxy. So Cloudflare is going to do your DNS requests so that wherever you're doing DNS requests from doesn't know who did the request. And it's encrypted, so there's no man-in-the-middle attack possible.
But you do have to have a pair of servers here. You have to have the proxy, and you have to have the DNS that it allows over HTTPS. So rolling this out will take some time and setup. They have a couple of servers I think you can use right now, but for the most part, you have to wait for the infrastructure to catch up with this.
I think that this is only going to increase DNS latency, which will annoy me.
They say it's on par, just a little bit slower.
Just a little bit more annoying.
Yeah. Hopefully, it will keep the ISPs out, but something tells me that they'll do everything they can to get around it. Have you ever done the Amazon Locker thing?
One time.
Really? How was it, like a business, or I mean, they're all businesses, right?
No, it was in a city. I was traveling, and it was like, this is available for pickup tomorrow morning at like this location. And I was like, that can't possibly be that easy. And so I did that, and it worked perfectly.
Chris, have you ever tried it?
What is? I don't think I've even heard of that. What is it?
So if you order an Amazon package, but let's say that you're not going to be home and you're afraid of porch pirates, but you can't get packages at work, you can just say, just send it to the lockers at the dollar store. And then you go to the dollar store and you use your phone to unlock that locker and get your package.
I have never done that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Apparently, according to Amazon, there are 27 locations near my house. So it's pretty ubiquitous.
Wow. I didn't know they had locations around here.
Yeah. And so I don't know how far away they are. I've never tried it. But they are not the only company to do that. Turns out there is a company just for that in Russia, and it's called PickPoint. And oh boy, did they have a problem.
Hacker opens 2,700 PickPoint package lockers across Moscow.
Krista, is that from you? What is that?
Yeah, I think a woman, her chihuahua has escaped and she's screaming, trying to get it to come back.
You should send Rue out there to help.
Rue help and not cause worse problems.
That's
that chihuahua's out all the time, and like it never listens to its owners.
Was she screaming a name? I didn't pick that up.
Belle.
Mel?
Belle.
Oh.
Belle. Yeah.
Oh, Belle like beauty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I totally stepped on your headline read there. But
no.
That was I couldn't figure out what that was.
I wondered if the mic was picking it up, but it was getting increasingly louder. Yeah.
Hacker opens 2,732 PickPoint package lockers across Moscow. Says it was the world's first targeted cyber attack against the postage gateway. So all the lockers just popped open. It's not clear if anybody stole packages because guards and security people were quick to try to pop everything back closed. But yeah, it's untelling.
But aren't those one-time opens?
Yeah, the article did not have any details to elaborate on.
So
that
would reset, right?
Yeah.
Bet that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They point out that, and we will talk about this more in the nonsense section, but attacks on delivery infrastructure have really gone up in 2020.
Attacks on, not attacks. I don't know. There was the guy that we know that works for the grocery chain said that their internal stuff is like food shoplifting is up 6,000% over this time last year.
Yeah, I saw that too because people are broke and starving. Yeah. When it comes to shoplifting, food shoplifting is a dark one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's wrong and we need to stop it, but at the same time, our people are starving.
Yeah. He said that that they have loss prevention insurance and it's like they're not going to do anything about it as long as insurance is going to pay the claims.
That's got to be a matter of time. I think I told this. I think I talked about either on the stream or on the news. I can't remember what. But I was at Meijer one day and I was waiting to get grapes. And like people are standing in front of the grapes, so I'm just sitting there waiting for my turn at the grapes. And I'm looking at other stuff while I'm doing it. And then 5 minutes later, they're still over there. And I'm like, what is going on with these grapes? So I just went to like shoulder my way in to get my grapes, and they were just grazing, just eating the grapes. And there was a family, and one of the kids he had a banana, and he took a big bite, and I made eye contact with him, and he hit it.
Oh, that's really sad. I mean,
that was actually really stressful when I worked at a grocery store because people would let their kids eat, fruit while they were going through the store, which was fine. If it was any other item but fruit, because fruit we have to weigh. So people would hand me a banana peel, and I was like, I don't know how much it weighed before this. So then I would just kind of have to guesstimate, and sometimes, that was weird, but
You would think that eating in the store would always be discouraged, but like the little heated snacks that they like, the popcorn chicken, seems to encourage it.
Yeah.
Well, and like for most food, it doesn't really matter. We don't care if you're eating or drinking while you're going through, but like.
But how many?
That sucks.
But how many people finish that popcorn chicken and just pop that on the shelf?
I miss when Walmart had the cafeteria in the back. They had really good food, and they would just like you would do the thing, and they would give you a little barcode, and it would be like, I want to pay, and they're like, no, you just take the barcode and pay, and then you would go and you would eat, and then you just had the barcode, and then you would go pay, and it was
you pay up front.
Yeah, but it was like the weight and all the other stuff was marked on whatever it was. But you paid up front.
Produce, they don't do that, so we had to like, guesstimate.
It was good food in that little cafe.
That's like any other restaurant, I guess, in terms of the payment. But I would think that the people at Walmart would violate that more often than your average restaurant diner, right? Like just to walk out on it.
Yeah, they briefly replaced it with a Subway, and then it was like not good.
Man, talk about falling from grace. Remember when Subway was the #1 fast food?
Yeah.
My little town in eastern Kentucky, like the one where I grew up, I think we have 3 Subways, and like
we have a Subway. Yeah, just throw them anyway. It's like Dollar General.
There was a Subway across from my house in the middle of nowhere. It was crazy.
Well, we talk a lot about medical equipment, and because medical equipment is kind of a rare thing, like consumers are never going to purchase it. So based on that, they seem to take a really lax approach to the security. And it seems like it's designed so that like, yeah, you're going to buy this and you're going to own it, but you're never going to touch it in terms of maintenance. A guy's going to come and take care of that. And for that same reason, again, really dial down the security. And that's going to come back to haunt you every time.
GE puts default password in radiology devices, leaving healthcare networks exposed. Fixing critical vulnerability isn't straightforward and comes with its own risks. So yeah, it turns out the ransomware people have discovered this, and GE is guilty of it. Not just GE. I mean, we had a really crazy case last year. There's like dental management software and like X-ray software. It has a hard-coded username and password. They use the same username and password everywhere, and it runs as admin on local servers in a dentistry office. You wouldn't believe how many dentist offices got ransomware. I actually talked to their tech support about that, and they were like, "Do what now?" And I was like, "Yeah, here's the password," and they were like, "Hold, please," and they had no idea.
I like that these little spirals out here look like eyes, so that he's waiting to devour you.
That thing is just, it can't wait to rip a metal chair out of your hands.
Or a nipple ring.
Ah!
And finally, here's a headline that I estimate many of you didn't need, because we all have experienced this and it's horrific.
I've noticed spam calls grew 18% this year despite the global pandemic. So I've noticed a dramatic uptick in spam calls the last few days or the last few weeks. And there have been a few days where I've gotten like 8 or 9 calls in a row. And it seems to put me on edge. Like I was just anxious for no reason on the day that I got so many spam calls.
You know what has enhanced my apprehension 1,000,000% is that I got a call that I dismissed as a spam call, but it was a very important. And now it's like, oh God.
I think the reason you get anxious when you get like a lot of spam calls like that, or if you get copied on an email where nothing's actionable, it's like, I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't actually have to do something, but because I have all these like notifications.
No, yeah, the last couple of weeks have been like project launch because everybody's trying to go on vacation the last part of the year because everybody hasn't used their vacation days because why would they? And because they've been at home anyway. And so like it's been just project launch after project launch after project launch, and every email is like 50 people on the email, and it's like you get that and it's like you have to read it and understand it, but there's 50 people copied on this, so there's 1 million responses, and that sets me on edge too because it's just like I have to have this information, but there's literally nothing here that's relevant to me. Why is somebody punishing me for doing this?
We need to start. I'm sorry, Krista, go ahead.
So sometimes if I'm emailing someone and like there's nothing that they need to do right away, I'll put that at the very start of the email, like, hey, so-and-so, nothing actionable until this date. And then I put the rest of it because I don't want them to freak out. But that should be more of like an etiquette thing that people do.
We need to start one of those hipster management styles that's based on minimal communication. It's like you get demerits every time that you send an email. If all the recipients of the email vote that it was not an important email, that goes on your record. And meetings are the same way.
It's like, hey, I wanted to move the launch on this up 3 weeks because I'm going on vacation the last 3 weeks of the year because what else are you going to do? It's like, okay, thanks for letting me know.
Thanks for just checking out of your part of the project for the last 3 weeks. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it just sets me on edge. It's good, I guess. All right, we'll see you Friday.
We're staying busy at least.
Got kind of a lot of nonsense for Friday, so that's exciting.
And a bigger than usual haul of robot.
And December is already almost gone.
Halfway. Well, on Friday.
Yeah.
It will be even more than halfway.
Scary.
Plus, you got that holiday in there, assuming you're in a Christian country.
Yeah, the time between December 25th and the beginning of January just basically doesn't exist. Everybody takes that as a vacation.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye.